You ready to rock?
No, but we're gonna find out a lot about the Crimson Tide today. This is
Yeah,
right
yeah,
before Georgia. I got a bye week coming up. It's gonna be a home opener, or I guess it's our second home opener. So our home opener was last week, so this is
yeah,
second home game, and we were looking at tickets, and it didn't look like it was gonna be, you know, a sellout, which is kind of concerning. So hopefully the team comes to play and we blow them out.
yeah. That is concerning. Also, Gabe's running on about a couple hours of sleep the last 2 days. Went fishing yesterday. Going to the game today. He's having a heck of
Yeah.
a weekend, but these picks may be out of left field because my boy ain't slept. So we'll see what happens.
And we feel a little crazy, a lack of sleep. I've been going delirious.
Yeah, I know Cole's sitting next to you. Has he got an AirPod in? Is he joining us at all?
No, he's just chilling. He forgot his headphones.
What a,
He
what
didn't.
a
He
rookie.
didn't think of ahead. He didn't think ahead. Yeah, he's a rookie.
That sounds about
No one
right.
told me to bring
Although,
my headphones either. I just brought. I just bought them.
oh man.
Always blaming it on me for not telling him.
Well, I can't give him too much crap because he did win our league last week. So good for Cole. We'll jump into it though. Quit lollygagging around, but we'll jump straight into value picks this week. We'll start at the quarterback position. Cole, what do you got? Or Gabe, what do you got at QB this week?
Yeah, I'm leaning on Joe Burrow, 6,600 against Jacksonville. It's their opener at Cincinnati. Um, they struggled against the Browns last week. So Joe Burrow, I feel like he's gonna have a good week with Jamar Chase having a slow game too, and Higgins. They just
Yeah,
Jacksonville's not very good. Carolina probably made Jacksonville look like world beaters last week, but I don't still don't think Jacksonville's defense is that good. So Joe
yeah,
Burrow is
I'm with you.
usually one of the heaviest priced quarterbacks, and he's pretty low,
Yeah,
and so
he's
I
only
like Joe Burrow.
6,600.
Yeah, it's about 19, 18 or 19 points, maybe close to 20. I think he beats that pretty easily if he throws a few touchdowns. Their offense is very, very dependent on Joe Burrow. They're not a run heavy team. They need
Yeah,
to get Chase and Higgins involved. So I like him. And then I'm a I'm a proponent for Mac Jones. I know most people probably won't be at 4,000, but he's the cheapest quarterback on the slate because he's the backup for Purdy, and they have him priced as the backup right now. They don't have him priced as a starter. So you can get a
yeah,
starting quarterback, like I said, all last year, a starting quarterback priced as a backup at the minimum salary of 4,000. You got to place a couple teams with him on there. You can't not take that in case he goes off or those a few touchdowns. They still got a good
yeah,
offense and a good offensive line, and it's the Saints. So
yeah, yeah. Biggest key there is it's the Saints.
yeah, right, exactly. It's the
So
Saints.
I'll go QB route two. I've got Mac Jones listed. You've already kind of hit that one. I've also got Drake May at the Dolphins. He's at 5,200. He's one of the lower quarterbacks this week. Didn't have a great week last week, but he's playing against the Dolphins, and they seem to be in shambles. There seems to be a lot of distractions over there already with Tyreek Hill, which I know that's not the defense, but it just seems like they're kind of falling apart early this
Yeah, they
season. So I
are.
like I like Drake May. He's projected 18.1. And if you look at his last 11 games, 7 of the 11 games, he's gone 18 plus, which is at about a 64% rate. So I kind of like his floor there against the Dolphins. I think he's a good safe pick at 5,200. And then the other quarterback I have listed on the slate at 6,400 is Kyler Murray. Um, you talked about the Panthers already a little bit. They suck. I think there's an opportunity for him to go off. The only concern is kind of like what you saw last week with Trevor Lawrence. If they get up big early, they're just going to run the ball. That is my only
Yeah,
concern. If Bryce Young can keep it close, I think there's a good opportunity for Kyler Murray to go off in this game, get a lot of points, and be a sneaky pick at 6,400 against the Panthers. But let's keep rolling. Let's jump into running backs here. Gabe, I'll kind of let you lead us on the running back front. What do you have highlighted for this week?
yeah. I think this is going to be a pretty heavily utilized player. Travis Etienne is 5,700 against the Bengals,
Yeah,
and with Tank Bigsby being traded away to the Eagles, that's opening the
opens the
door for
door.
him to take over again as the lead back. They had that rookie out of Virginia Tech, Tootin, Shell Tootin, or whatever his name is, real fast, but it just seems like from what they did last week that Travis Etienne is pretty much the bell cow and workhorse there. So I like him. He's going to be super heavily owned, but that's the thing about those heavily owned players. Yeah, if you find the ones that aren't heavily owned, they can kind of separate your teams. But also, if the heavily owned player is the highest running back scoring player on the slate, you have to have him. And so I think the matchup's honestly too good not to have him on there, especially when you get two running backs and a flex. If you're gonna, he's not a bad flex pick or one of your running
Yeah,
backs if you want to pick him. A
100%.
lot of the running backs are priced. They're priced pretty fairly. I don't see like there's not a ton of value on it. You get your higher end running backs like Achan and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's definitely priced a little bit higher. I think the only other running back that I'm kind of leaning on and maybe stacking them with Joe Burrow is Chase Brown at
Yeah.
6,800 because of his pass catching ability. And if it's a high scoring game, I'm kind of leaning on that Jacksonville Jaguar and Cincinnati Bengals game to be high scoring and hit the over. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm kind of, that's the team. That's basically the game I'm building my teams around. And a lot of them is the Jacksonville Cincinnati game.
Yeah. That's the highest, one of the highest over-unders on the afternoon slate for sure. I like Chase Brown as well. I have him listed. He was on the field 75% of the time, so I think he's a good play there. And he has the ability to catch. So if you have Joe Burrow and you want to stack with Chase, you might be able to sneak in a receiving touchdown as well. This one's going to be a little bit of a surprise for you, Gabe. I know everybody is hammering Jahmyr Gibbs this week against Chicago. I've got a little bit of a zag here. I think that Chicago is not good. I think that
Yeah.
there's an opportunity for a quick early lead for Detroit. And I think if they do that, they're going to lean on a heavier running back to ice some clock, kill some clock. I like David Montgomery this week. He's not projected a lot of points, and he's highly priced at 5,400. But I think there's a way in which, if game script goes accordingly, David Montgomery may go for. He may get a lot of touches just because they want to pound the rock a little bit. And if you look at the game last week against Chicago, the running back that had the most production was Jordan Mason, who's kind of built more like a David Montgomery, a bigger back, being able to pound the rock in there. So I like I like David Montgomery kind of as a low ownership because everybody's going to be hitting Jahmyr Gibbs, but I could see David Montgomery sliding in for a touchdown or two. So I like that one there.
Yeah.
And then the only other one
Hold
I have
on.
is
Did
James.
you mention it's a revenge game for David Montgomery in Chicago?
I forgot about that. It is a revenge
Yeah.
game. I
So
love that, dude.
yeah, he's cheaper. He's definitely going to be looking to score a touchdown or two against Chicago after they traded
Yeah,
him away and said he wasn't good enough. So yeah. All right, go ahead.
absolutely.
What was your other one?
And then the last one I have is on the slate's James Conner, just because if Panthers do
Oh yeah.
suck, I see James Conner being
Yeah.
able to get in the end zone. He is a little bit higher price at 6,600, but he does have the ability to catch the football. So I do like James Conner in his matchup there. Let's go receiver. I'll start us off at receiver. I've got a couple things here. Right off the bat, you got to look at Hollywood Brown with 16 targets at 5,200. No Xavier Worthy. He's a cheaper starting receiver. He also had the most targets in week one across the NFL. So you got to like that matchup just from a standpoint of volume. There's just targets to be had in that offense. Travis Kelce is a hollow shell of the man he used to be, right? He had 2 catches last week, but he kind of got saved because he had a little bit of I think it was like a 30 or 40-yard touchdown pass. So I like Hollywood Brown for sure at 5,200. His value's there. He's projected at like 14.7, 14.9, somewhere around there. The other guy I have circled on the slate is DK Metcalf. He was basically the only receiver that didn't get a touchdown last week with Aaron Rodgers. So I see touchdown in his future at 5,900. He had the most targets on the team, so I really like him at 5,900. And then the only other receiver I had circled is Jackson Smith and Jigba. So why do I have Jackson Smith and Jigba circled on this? Because Sam Darnold was locked in on him, and it wasn't even funny, dude. This is crazy. He had a 54% target share in the offense.
Yeah, it's insane.
54%. Now they didn't throw it a lot, but he had 9 targets out of like 16. I think it was 9 catches out of the 16 catches in the game. So he had a crazy game as far as the target shares. and he's only listed at 6,000. So I kind of like him there just from a target share standpoint. If you look at Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson last year, Darnold's he's a heavy one receiver guy.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
he
do
is
like Jackson Smith
1,000%.
and
Yeah.
Jigba this week. What do you got receiver wise?
So I got three. One thing about Drake May that I mentioned earlier for you is that he threw the ball 46 times last week, which is
Yeah,
insane. In a New England offense with Mike Vrabel, he threw the ball almost 50 times, and they weren't even in like a shootout. It was just
I know.
they're leaning heavy on Drake May to be the guy. Marvin Harrison Jr. He's at 5,800. I'm going back to the well again. He's only
Yep.
$300 more than he was last week, and he scored a touchdown. And Kyler Murray apparently is playing much better than he was last year. He's already found him for one touchdown, and it's against
Yep.
Carolina at home. So I mean, I feel like if you like Marvin Harrison Jr. last week, then you like him this week. And that's kind of been my trend going into my picks this week. Cedric Tillman's 4,300. He's cheaper than he was last week. Now
Yeah.
they're
Which
playing
is crazy.
Baltimore. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. They're playing Baltimore. I know it's a tough matchup. I think they're playing in Baltimore, but it also leads to the game script of if Baltimore gets out early and
Yep.
is just smacking it to them and laying it down on them, it's pretty much pause. Then it'll be like
Yeah.
a
Pause.
pass heavy script at the end of the game. So Cedric Tillman, like I said, if you liked him last week, you definitely like him this week. And then my one of my, I guess, more confident plays is I'm going towards Elick Aomenor from the Tennessee Titans. Probably butchered his last name, but
It's a
he had
tough one.
7 targets last week. He had 7 targets last week against Denver. And with their pass rush and good corners, I think that kind of contributed to him not being able to capitalize on his higher volume. But he's definitely the number 2 there, and they're trying to get him involved. I think Cam Ward opens it up a little bit more at home against the Rams and scores some touchdowns. He's still looking for his first touchdown pass. And I'm going out on a limb of my plum pick and saying that Elick Ayamanor, or whatever, how do you pronounce his last name, is going to have a
Yeah.
60-plus yard touchdown this weekend. That's my
Oh
prediction.
God.
Yeah,
Bold. I like it,
deep
baby. We're
pass.
gonna be
Yeah.
rivals this week because my plum pick is Calvin Ridley. So we'll
Oh
we'll see
man.
what takes place. But you talked about game script, right? For like a Cleveland Browns receiver core. Keon Coleman last week for the Bills. They got down by 15 in the fourth quarter. Keon Coleman in the first 3 quarters had one catch for 17 yards, but in the fourth quarter he ended the game with 7 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. So he had 6
Mm.
catches for about, 78 yards and touchdown in the fourth quarter. So if you think the game script is going to go that route, I do think a Browns receiver, whether it's Jerry Jeudy or what's his face that you just said? Golly, it's too early in the morning. Tillman.
Elick
If you like them, I
Tillman.
think there's an
Tillman.
opportunity. Yeah, I think there's an
Yeah.
opportunity if you like that game script to get some extra yardage and garbage time as Cleveland tries to make a comeback. You could say that about Joe Flacco as well. I mean, he may be a good option to look at. He's again the cheapest quarterback, basically cheapest quarterback starter that we have out there outside of Mac Jones, and I think maybe Cam
Yeah.
Ward. I'd have to double check, but you could go that route as well. Let's shift to tight ends. What do you got tight end wise for us this week at value?
Yeah. Grant Calcaterra, 2,500. He's starting for Goddard this week. So Goddard's out. Goddard had 7 targets last week. He was there. I know he's already out. The dude's just super injury prone. But 2,500 against Kansas City. That game will probably be high scoring. It'll be on. It's at a 3. I think it's at 3:30. But obviously, it's a
Yep.
rematch of the Super Bowl. Usually, when those good teams get together, you get a lot of points. So I'm expecting that one to go over. And then Brenton Strange, Jacksonville, 3,600. I'm leaning on him. Cincinnati's
Yeah.
defense is bad, so I'm going with Strange. That's my 2 tight ends.
Yeah, I like Strange a lot. I have him circled because between Fannin and Njoku last week at the tight end position, they had 15 targets, 10 receptions on 100 yards against Cincinnati's defense. I think Brenton Strange
Yeah,
had a decent week last week. He had 4 or 5 targets for 60-something yards, and he had 9.6 points in fantasy. So I do like Brenton Strange there as far as the matchup goes. Also, if you're a Drake May believer, I think you can stack here with Hunter Henry at 4,000 because Hunter Henry played 93% of snaps on offense for
mm,
the New England Patriots last week, and he was tied in
yeah,
target share with Butte at 8. So I do like Hunter Henry there. And then you talked about injuries. You got Kittle already out, so Jake Tonges at 3,200 or Luke Farrell at 3,500, depending on what route you want to go there. Tonges is the one that had the touchdown, and then Evan Ingram is likely out. So Adam Troutman at 3,000 could also be a play at Denver if you like either one of those. I think if you're going to go injury route, I think you got to lean Calcaterra though, because he's kind of proven when Goddard goes out, he's at least a viable option. The other two are kind of unknowns, so to speak. So that's kind of what I have on the tight end front. You kind of already picked your plum pick. I'll echo plum pick here with Calvin Ridley. One of us is going to be right. I hope it's me because I need it
both
badly.
right. We could both be right.
If we're both right, go Cam Ward, stack them. So I do like our plum picks this week. We'll be rivals this week, but maybe we'll both be right. We'll see. Let's transition, though, to our core four. And if you don't know what core four is, if you're joining us for the first time, core four is kind of who we build our lineups around, guys that we have belief in or we see value in that we are going to circle our lineups around this week. I'll let you start us, though, at core four. Who do you got?
Yeah, Cole's going to hate half my picks when he hears this. I'm going Joe Burrow, 6,600. He'll probably be fine with that. And then I'm going Travis Etienne, 5,700. And he's going to hate these last two, but I am going Elick at 3,200 for Tennessee. And then Grant Calcaterra at 2,500 because he played, I think he said when I looked at some of the news, that Calcaterra played about 59% of the snaps, even with Goddard playing. So if he's playing over half the snaps with Goddard available when Goddard's out, I assume, and he'll be almost at 100% of the snaps. So he should get some volume there. The cheapest, the minimum price you can get for a tight end is 2,500. So I like it.
Yeah, and if they follow the game script from last week, Philadelphia, it'll be relatively conservative. Couple check downs. I mean, Goddard got so many of those catches within the 10 yards or less range, so you could see Calcaterra if the script follows against the Chiefs. Could see him getting quite a few catches this week. So I do like that one a lot. My core four this week is Hollywood Brown at 5,200. I think you got to take a stab there at a cheap receiver with that many targets. Led the NFL last week in targets. I've got Brenton Strange on my core four. Or Hunter Henry. I haven't quite made the final decision there, but I do like Brenton Strange a lot. I've got Calvin Ridley, a receiver one at 4,900. I think you got to take a stab there. I think it'll be a breath of fresh air, them not playing Denver and having to face those corners. I think there'll be more opportunities for one of our receivers that we pick to go off. And then my final is Jackson Smith and Jigba at 6,000. He's still not priced at like a Jamar Chase range. So I think he's like 2,100 less, but he's also at 54% of the target share. So I like Jackson Smith and Jigba this week to round out my core four. So I had Hollywood Brown, Brenton Strange, Calvin Ridley, and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I don't know what Cooper Kupp's price is at though, but with Njigba being so heavily targeted last week and going up against Pittsburgh and Jalen Ramsey, I don't know what Coop's price is at, but if Cooper Kupp is really, really cheap, it might not be one of those like good contrary plays to go against Njigba and get some low ownership with him. I'll have to check that out. But
he's at 5,000 this week.
Okay.
The only reason I'm still bullish on Jackson Smith and Jigba is if you look at the Jets last week, their number one, Garrett Wilson, still went for almost 100 yards in a tub. So, that's with Justin Fields throwing it with him. It depends on how you feel about Darnold, but I do think that Jackson Smith is still a solid play. But you're right. If you want to go low ownership, Cooper Kupp could be that contrary play to try to change things up, try to get a low ownership player there.
I just know that Jordan Addison last year with Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson had those games. He'd have a game every 4 or 5 where he scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns, and JJ would have like 4 points. Not saying it's going to be this week, but it is something to think about whenever you're picking through the weeks. If Njigba starts getting up higher, like I think you're right. His salary right now is way too low for what he's getting and how involved he is in the offense. I mean, he's getting Justin Jefferson, above Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase numbers, but he's priced
Yeah.
like well below him. So I feel like you kind of have to take that. But once he starts getting up a little higher price, then you need to start kind of looking at how to,
Yep.
I guess, go against the grain and separate
100%.
those from the higher owned players. But yeah.
100%. Well, let's move on to optimal lineups. I went ahead and pulled the AI optimal lineup. AI optimal lineup is Mac Jones at quarterback. You also have at running back 1, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey at running back 2. Your receivers, you got Ted McMillan for Carolina, Puka Nakua, Hollywood Brown. Tight end, you got Jake Ferguson. Flex, you got Alvin Kamara. And defense, you've got Cowboys. And that is projected 141.8 fantasy points as far as the AI is concerned. But we'll jump to our optimal lineups. Gabe, what do you got optimal lineup for us?
Yeah. You still hear me?
Yep,
I
I
had to
got you.
go, have him go to the app. All right. So I'm going Joe Burrow and then Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne, running back 2, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Elick, Ao Manor, Brenton Strange, Jamar Chase, and the Saints defense. And I've got Strange in there right now, but could eventually, go down to Grant Cockatera and upgrade my defense because I'm still rolling with the Titans, baby.
I like it. Relatively low price defense,
Yeah,
2,400 for the
2,400. Yeah,
Titans. After they had a pretty good performance last week, getting 10 fantasy points, roughed up Bo Nix a little bit. So I do like the Titans still as a cheaper option at the
yeah.
defensive front for
So
sure.
I was a little bit down on the Titans on their I wasn't sure what their linebacking core was gonna be like, but Cody Barton, who is their middle linebacker, he's from Denver. They got him, I guess, last season or a year before, and he was really good at Denver, as you can tell by how their defense played last week. So they've
Yeah.
kind of shirted up in the middle, and their secondary had a couple picks, and they had some sacks and forced
Mm-hmm.
some fumbles. And
Yep.
they got 3 turnovers last week against the Broncos. But Stafford, I don't know, it's a little bit interesting with the Rams. I mean, they have a much better offense than the Broncos do, and much better stable quarterback. But it is at
Yeah.
home. It's in Nashville. They'll have a lot of energy, like I said last week, a lot of energy in Cam Ward's debut, and see what happens.
Yeah, I still think that the Titans are a good pick this week because if you look at Stafford, he sat out basically all the preseason. So this is kind of his
Yeah,
preseason reps getting underneath his belt. He's still, relatively new with Devontae Adams. So I do like that pick, just kind of as a sneaky because 2,400, the other cheapest option is Carolina at 2,300. So if you can get the
yeah,
Titans only $100 more than the worst defense in the league, absolutely give
yeah,
me that for sure.
yeah, yeah.
But my optimal lineup for this week is I've got Drake May, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Calvin Ridley, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Hollywood Brown. I'm going Hunter Henry as of this moment to kind of stack with Drake May. I've got Malik Neighbors at the flex, and I've got the Seahawks defense as I round out my lineup there. And then if you look at my numbers compared to the AI, I'm sitting at projected 137.2, so only about 3 or 4 off. And
Uh,
AI has no gut feel, nothing. So
Nothing. Yeah.
hopefully my gut feel is stronger than AI right now. So we'll see what happens this week as we play out. Um, are there any games that you like this week, Gabe, that you're kind of circling? I know you talked a little bit about the Cincinnati game. Is there any other thing you have circled this week?
Yeah, besides Jacksonville and Cincinnati, I guess the only other one I really like is just the Titans. But that's because I'm
Yeah,
a Titans stan, and then I'm really wanting to see what Cam Ward does against the Rams at home. And Elick.
yeah,
But that's, I mean, Philly, Kansas City is a good game, but and you have Carolina. Some good matchups for good quarterbacks and bad defenses. Same with running
yeah.
backs. So
Absolutely. I think the only game I have really circled, I had the Jags and Bengals circled for sure. I've got New England just from selfish purposes. With going so heavy Drake May, I'm really hoping the Dolphins just lay an egg and he can go off there. And then the only other game I have circled is Lions and Bears. I think that, with Jahmyr Gibbs and belief in David Montgomery this week, I'm really hoping the Lions get off to a quick start. And I think the opportunity is going to be there for a lot of rushing yards in that game because I was laughing. If you look at the game against Minnesota, they still being down 17-6 going into the fourth quarter, still had over 100 yards rushing between the two running backs. So I think that there's some vulnerabilities there against Chicago. So I'm really hoping the Lions can step up to the challenge and continue to go high on rushing mark there against the Bears. Do you have a no touchy this week? I didn't really have one highlighted. I wasn't sure if you had anything you wanted to throw out there as a no touchy.
No, I hadn't even didn't thought of any of them yet.
I
Who
think
does
I'll
Denver
answer the
play
question
this?
for us.
Yeah, go ahead.
Carolina, Bryce Young, no touchy. I hate to
Yeah,
say it, but as we're Bama fans, but I think
yeah. I'm gonna need to see
Carolina
it. I'm
may
gonna
be a
need to
no
see it
touchy.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt, Pauls. But that's going to kind of, like I said, this is a very quick abbreviated version of the fantasy blueprint. We've had a lot going on between just travel and all sorts of stuff happening this week. So it's been a kind of an up and down week for us, but we wanted to get something out there for you guys as you continue to kind of build your lineups working towards Sunday. But that's all I got, Gabe. Any last minute ads you got?
Nope. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, baby. Good luck, everybody. Happy hunting. And there's the other member. He'll be back next week. Forgot his daggum AirPods. What a rookie. He
Roll
will
Tide,
be
baby. Say it.
Roll Tide, baby. Let's go. Let's go. All right, guys. Happy hunting. Good luck this week. And we will see you next week with a much more normal fantasy blueprint. But we appreciate y'all tuning in. Can't wait to see y'all next week. Good luck week 2. Here we go. See
Yep.
you guys.
See ya.